Okay, welcome to the second part of the auto suggest field tutorial. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to be creating the markup for the index page, so the page that you're going to first land on, and then we're going to start to implement like the style sheet. We're probably not going to be touching on styles in this part of the tutorial. Implementing jQuery, our JavaScript file, etc. So we're starting to build up our directory structure. As you can see at the moment, I've just got index.php, so we're going to be building the directory structure as we go. We're not going to do it all in one go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to declare our doc type. I'm going to declare a doc type for HTML5, only seems necessary. And basically this means that if we do want to implement any HTML5 elements in the future, then we can, so it just makes everything a lot better. So I'm going to create a head for this, and I'm going to give it a title. So let's just give it a title of auto suggest field. And down here we want to give a link to our style sheet. So we want to say link rel equals style sheet. HTML5 doesn't require a type, so we can just say href, and this is the link to our style sheet. Now our style sheet is going to be in a CSS folder, and we're going to call this screen.css. And all our styles are going to be contained in there. So in the next part of the tutorial, we're going to be creating the actual style sheet itself. Let's come down and create the body of the document. And in here, we want to go ahead and around here create our field, and down here we want to include our scripts. So if we go over to our browser and we load up jQuery.com, and we click download here, making sure we've got the production version selected, we can go ahead and just copy and paste this URL in. Probably better to save a local copy of this, but just to save time when I'm creating things like this, I prefer to just take the URL straight from the jQuery website. So let's go ahead and create our script tags. Again, HTML5 doesn't require you to give a type on this, so we can just say script source equals. I'm going to go ahead and just paste that straight in. Okay, and don't forget your ending script tag. So the next one, script source equals, and this is going to be our custom JavaScript file that we're going to be going and creating our the functionality to allow us to do what we're doing here. And this is going to be in a JS folder, and I'm going to call this primary.js. It's just any general styles that we want, keeping it to one file. Okay, so now that we've done that, we need to start going ahead and building up the actual, elements. So let's go ahead and close off jQuery. You can see at the moment we've got nothing on our page. We want to start going ahead and building up, first of all, the text, the input field that we're going to be able to type in, the search button, which is irrelevant, and then the drop down for the results. So in here we want an input, and the type is going to be text. And the class, we're going to give this a class so we can identify it, is going to be auto suggest. Okay. So after this, we're going to create our submit button. Now notice I'm not ending script tags like that. That's another HTML5 thing. You're not required to end a self-contained element, so we don't need to use a forward slash there. I'm going to go ahead and give this a value, and I'm going to call that search. Now, like I said before, our search button doesn't do anything. It's just there for show at the moment, in case you did want to incorporate some kind of search. So now we've got our search field, essentially, and our search button. Now what we want to do is go ahead and down here create a div with a class of dropdown that's going to allow us to display our results. So we're not going to be styling this just yet, but we are going to be creating the markup. So we create a div area, and I'm going to call this dropdown. And then inside of here, we want an unordered list. Now the unordered list is essentially, we're going to style this out so it displays us a list of results. It's semantic, it makes semantic sense to do it like this. So UL, and then we're going to say class equals result. And then in here, what we're going to do is we're not actually going to create any we're not actually going to create any LIs because that's going to be passed through for PHP. But in order to style it, we need to actually create some of these, you know, so we can see what we're styling. So I'm just going to come in here and type in London, Manchester, and let's say New York. So I'm typing 3 examples in, so when we go ahead and preview that in the browser, you see we've got this. Now it's far from finished at the moment, but in the next part we're going to be styling this up. That involves getting rid of the list bullets here, pulling this across and up, and then giving it a border for each one. So, you know, it might look difficult, it might look hard to style, but in actual fact our style sheet is quite short, and it's probably longer than it could be. I've just, you know, sort of taken an easy route round here. It's not a CSS tutorial, but we are going to be styling this as best we can and as efficiently as we can. So in the next part, we are going to look at styling it. We've completed our markup. Everything is there that we need. We've created our our reference to our JavaScript in our style sheet file. And yeah, in the next part, we're going to start styling this up. Okay, so in this part of the tutorial, we're going to be creating the styles for this. We've already seen that in our browser, we've got our field here, our search button here, and underneath we've got this unordered list with a few elements in. We're going to be removing these elements once we've styled them because we're going to pass that through using jQuery and PHP. The result's going to come from PHP. jQuery is going to put that in here. So we're going to put each list item inside of this UL. So what we need to do first is create our style sheet file, that's screen.css within a CSS folder. Let's go ahead and create a new file. We'll just type anything for now, so body, that will do. And let's go ahead and save it in a folder called CSS. And let's call it screen.css. Okay, so we've created our style sheet file. The first thing I'm going to do here is give the body a font. So I'm going to say font 0.8 EM, and the font I'm choosing is Verdana. So quickly and easily defining a font for our page. So when we refresh, you can see that the font's changed. Okay, so now we need to sort of reset, if you like, our elements on our page. So you can see that if we go back to index.php, we've got auto suggest here, that's a class. We've got dropdown here, which is a class. And we've also got result, and that's a class as well. So we want to reset these, and we want to give them all the same width, and that means that everything is going to line up properly. So the first element we target is auto suggest, using the auto suggest class, and then the drop down class, and then the result class. And in here we want to set the margin, the padding, and the border all to 0. So margin none, padding none, so 0, border, sorry, 0, and we want to give them all a common width, and that is going to be 250 pixels. So now that we've done that, we want to target each of the elements individually and give them their own specific properties. Now you'll see if we pop back to our browser and refresh, you can see that that has given this a border of 0. You can see that it's almost sort of disappeared, and these have been sort of moved along, and the bullets have disappeared as well. So let's go ahead and style our auto suggest field. That's the field that the user is going to type something into. I'm going to give it a padding of 4 pixels, and I'm going to give it a border of 1 pixel, solid, and the color is going to be black, so 3 zeros. So padding 4 pixels, border 1 pixel, solid, 0, 0, 0. And that means now that we've got essentially an undefined width of 5 pixels, because we've got 4 pixels here and a 5th pixel there. So let's refresh. You can see that that's given it a black border, and we've got a slight bit of padding inside of here as well. So the text isn't touching the edges. So now what we need to do is we need to style this list underneath to be the full width, and we need to give each of these results a border. So it sort of looks like a table that's dropping down from there. So we need to go ahead and style, oops, not a forward slash, we need to style drop down. And what we're going to be doing is just setting the background. Oh no, we don't need to set the background to white, that's unnecessary, so we'll leave that one out. We want to start result. So result, we're going to set the width to 260 pixels. Why are we doing that? Well, as I said earlier, we've got the width of the auto-suggest drop-down and result to 250 pixels. We want to now reset the width of the result, or change the width of the result to 260 pixels. And the reason we're doing 260 is because either side of this we've got 4 pixels padding and 1 pixel border, so we're adding 10. So 4 plus 1 times 2 is 10. Maybe this confuses, but 4 pixels on this side, 4 pixels on this side, 1 pixel border, 1 pixel border. We've got 5 pixels here, 5 pixels here, so the width is going to be 260. We're basically adding 10 on. So hopefully that makes sense. And we don't need to declare list style none because our padding has done that, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. It's list style none. And now let's go ahead and style each individual list item. So at the moment we need to style this, this and this. So dot result li. Remember our result is a UL, so this is basically a UL. We're just targeting the elements within this. We want to set a padding of 5 pixels. We want to set a border of 1 pixel solid and black. The border top, actually I'll leave that one out for now because you'll see why it becomes a problem. If I refresh, you can see that we've got a sort of table looking thing now, but we've got too much border at the top, so we want to remove the top border. So border top 0, and then I'm going to go ahead and set a cursor on there, but let's just preview that change first. Looking nice. When I hover over these elements, I want the cursor to change to a pointer. So I'm going to say cursor pointer. That's relatively straightforward. And you can see that when I hover over each one, the cursor changes to a pointer. Quite straightforward. Okay, so now we want to set the hover. So I'm going to say dot result li and then the pseudo class hover. And what this will do is it will change it as we hover over it. So background, black, color, meaning the text color, white. So now what's going to happen is when we hover over each one, we get a black background and the text changes to white. So really what we've got here is something that looks quite dynamic, but really it's just a list of elements on a page. It's relatively straightforward. So we can type something in here. Our main goal is to click it and then this whole thing to disappear and whatever we've clicked to be placed in there, and we're going to be using jQuery to do that. We're obviously not going to be doing that using CSS. So that's it for the styling. We've used a few styles here. It's not anything too complicated to style up the results. What we can now do is we can get rid of this and we can pull this up here. And that's it. We're going to be placing the li elements within this later on using jQuery and PHP. So for now, that is our styled form. Next part, we're going to take a look at the JavaScript side of things and what we're doing when a key is pressed.